incompetence and your inability to truthfully carry out your duties of Secretary of Homeland Security. If you're not fired, will you resign?
Sir, I will consider your asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. Thank you very much.
So I want to give you a brief update on what the fantastic, totally not obstructionist, totally not grandstanding Democrat Party achieved on Capitol Hill today, because thus far the running total is at least one failed impeachment attempt, one ridiculous protest in the middle of a hearing, and one grand performance from a Democrat congressman who, I kid you not, cannot even speak English. But folks, it's only 9 p.m., so maybe they have a little bit more up their sleeve. Everybody clap it up for the Democrat Party, although maybe I shouldn't be laughing. Because truth be told, the issue we face is their voter base is going to look at this ridiculousness and say, good job, Democrats, I'm proud of you today. They're going to go into next year and still vote for the same exact candidates. And that's kind of my frustration, honestly, with our political system is that, you know, Republican voters are so fickle. You have one scandal, it'll take down a candidate. There's currently a massive civil war on the right wing of, is Trump being conservative enough, even though it's the most right-wing administration we've had since at least the 1950s? And meanwhile, this is their side, okay? Vote blue no matter who. Oh, hi, walking pile of dog crap. What a fantastic candidate. Sir, yes, sir, you have my vote, right? Jay Jones, we're even more inspired to vote for him after he said he wants to murder the children of Republicans. So, you know, that's something here to consider. Every time you look at the Democrat Party and say, what is this crap? It's all performative. It's so ridiculous. It's clown behavior. Well, maybe ask about the people in this country who are also voting for it. You know, I know the golden rule of American politics, if you're a candidate, is don't blame the voters, don't attack the voter base. But to some degree, this is an issue that we as private citizens have to consider in this country. You know, what is with the mass mobilized mental illness that keeps on electing this nonsense? But anyways, we'll tell you briefly about this, guys, in today's video, because on one hand, the U.S. House just had to reject yet another Trump impeachment attempt today. I don't know. What's the running total of how many that's been in this administration? Not sure. And then I also want to briefly show you some of the highlights of this Kristi Noem hearing. Kristi Noem, obviously Secretary of DHS, massively sort of responsible for overseeing the deportation operation. And Democrats, of course, responded by sending out their best possible ambassador they can make on immigration, which again is a guy who's completely unintelligible because he can barely speak English. So let's get into it. First, I'll do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. That's the best way to support our work. It also ensures that you can stay up to date with all the latest news and coverage. And that said, of course, let's start with the news today that the U.S. House has officially rejected another impeachment attempt of President Trump in a 237 to 140 vote. This measure this time around came from none other than Representative Al Green. That is right. That is the Neanderthal-looking 80-year-old congressman who stood up in the State of the Union with this stick. You know, you ever seen that meme of old man yells at cloud? That's exactly what it is. Donald Trump. And apparently, he's such a clown. Even 23 other House Democrats blocked the measure, likely from swing districts. But hey, worth noting, the majority of the caucus still did vote for this. But there you go.
The yeas are 237, the nays are 140, and there are 47 voting present. The motion is adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Yeah, well, good job, Congress. You really did accomplish a lot today. But hey, look, surely other Democrats are much more serious, right? Surely the wider party's not represented by absolute idiots like this right here, cavemen who think they're some type of civil rights leader or whatever's going on there. Well, let's, of course, now shift to the committee hearing that took place today with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and show you that, as usual, the No Kings protesters decided to make an appearance. Check it out.
Administration does each and every day to make America safe again. I'm very privileged and honored today to have my family with me. I'd like to introduce them to you.
Disruptions of congressional business is a violation of law, is a criminal offense under federal law. Audience members are advised to take their seats and maintain order. The chairman may now ask Capitol Police to remove and arrest the persons creating the disturbance.
Get ICE off our streets! Stop terrorizing our community! Get ICE off our streets! Stop terrorizing our community! Get ICE off our streets! Stop terrorizing our community!
Yeah, okay, well, first of all, who wants to bet that this first clown is not even an actual priest? You know, he bought the costume on Amazon. What is that hat, by the way? Is that the Code Pink church that he's representing? I mean, nobody exactly knows, but I'm sure you're going to get the headline in liberal media, Capitol Police carry off a Catholic priest after he simply wanted to protest against the ICE raids. Because if you notice something, this is a very common theme that they run. You know, the side that openly despises Christianity and basically wants it abolished in the United States simultaneously sends people to dress up in religious uniforms and go out and basically get carried off, arrested, pepper sprayed. Some of you may remember that big hoax with a guy who was like dressed as a priest or something and he got pepper sprayed by ICE and they said, ICE is pepper spraying Catholic priests or whatever was happening there. When in reality, he's there screaming in the freaking face. There's a riot going on, and ICE tells him to, push off. He doesn't do it. They pepper spray him, and then they, of course, take the photograph. The whole thing is staged. I mean, very similar situation. But hey, surely, despite the fact that these protesters are constantly celebrated by elected Democrat politicians, maybe they're not actually indicative of the unserious, ridiculous behavior of, the political party as a whole. That said, I now want you to take a listen, talking here about the topic of impeachment, to none other than Shri Thanedar. Anyone remember this guy? The one who's constantly trying to file articles of impeachment against Trump, and he cannot even, speak proper English. Well, for some odd reason, the Democrats, despite claiming this guy is just some random unserious representative, they don't really claim to associate with him, but he sits on committees. And take a listen here to what happened as he tries to grill Kristi Noem on something, although, to be completely honest with you, I could not understand it at all because, of course, it's Shri Thanedar we're talking about here. But all right, check it out.
Secretary Noem, it is a fact that you ignored federal court orders in March and in May of this year. Do you plan on ignoring more federal orders?
We always.
I'm sick.
What did he say? Huh?
We always.
I'm sick of your lies, and the American people demand the truth.
Because you keep saying it doesn't make it true.
I am sick of your lies. The American people are sick of these lies. American people demand truth.
America is very happy that finally they have a president in the White House that gets up every day to keep them safe.
Madam Secretary, your incompetence and your inability to truthfully carry out your duties of Secretary of Homeland Security. If you're not fired, will you resign?
Sir, I will consider your asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. Thank you very much.
He's going to get me in trouble. All right, look, let me just put it this way, Democrats. If you're going to trot out a representative to have a big moment of their performance in a hearing where they really expose the Trump administration's lies on ICE, if you're going to, let's say, have an immigration debate of all things, right? Maybe pick a person to do it who can actually speak English, who's actually intelligible, who comes off remotely at all as a, let me just say, someone who's supposed to be a U.S. representative, right? Not someone who, first of all, looks like some type of failed lab experiment. And second, you can't, what was he even talking? Oh, he said to resign. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. We cannot recover from what Shri Thanedar, the bombshell he just dropped on us. But anyways, there you have him. And actually, as a matter of fact, today we talked about the story earlier in the week, but he has officially now filed those articles of impeachment that he was pushing against Pete Hegseth for, blowing up narco terrorists. So let's now take a listen to this announcement he just released and see if we can understand still a word that this guy is saying.
Hello, this is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Today I introduced articles to impeach Secretary Pete Hegseth for murder and conspiracy to murder and reckless and unlawful mishandling of classified information. Since day one,
oh, I trust this guy with classified information. I mean, look how trustworthy he looks.
Secretary Hegseth has disgraced that once proud office that he holds, from issuing orders to kill everybody on board a small boat with no evidence of any wrongdoing, to launching a
small what? A small what, dude?
Follow-up strike to finish off survivors.
He finish off what, Shri Thanedar? Oh my gosh. I mean, look, here's the thing, right? I want people to realize This party is the betting odds favorite currently to win the House in 2026. Just think about that for a moment, right? This guy right here is slated to be in the House majority in the upcoming American election. So, as much as we sit here and laugh at these idiots, and it is funny, okay, genuinely, if our side doesn't get its act together, if we don't, first of all, approach next year's primaries seriously and pick good candidates who are both on board with the agenda, okay, not like the Indiana State Senate, for instance, right? We need real fighters. But secondly, who are actually competent and electable at the same time, then please understand this is who you hand power to. By the way, if all these Republican states don't follow through on all the talk about redistricting, this very likely is the person you end up giving more power to, okay? I said it earlier in the year. I'm still going to say it now, right? Even after the elections back in November. The Democrat Party is extremely beatable. They haven't gone anywhere. They haven't changed, okay? There's still a party of Al Green and Shri Thanedar and Jasmine Crockett, Even the candidates that are so amazing, they won in New Jersey and Virginia. Yeah, you mean to tell me Mikey Sherrill seemed like some type of political dynamo? No. The problem is, first of all, Republican voters don't show up in off-year elections. Well, that needs to change, right? And as for national Republican infrastructure, I'm not just going to blame the voters, right? The ad campaign, the ground game, all of this stuff has to be extremely serious. Because, again, as funny as it is, do you not at all feel threatened that these people might take power? And let me say, if it needs to scare you, let it scare you then. They are the favorites to win the House next year, according to prediction markets and everything else. And also, by the way, just historical precedent. You shouldn't want that to happen, okay? Because, yeah, as comical as they are, imagine what happens when they actually have the power to do anything. I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy. You want him to sit on a committee? No, you don't. You want him to be in charge of something? No, you don't. So, seriously, make sure you go vote. But last idiotic lowlight we'll mention here in the Sim Kristi Noem hearing is when Democrat Representative Benny Thompson refers to the National Guard attack in D.C. By the way, we now know was, of course, perpetrated by a Afghan refugee under, Joe Biden's Operation Allied Welcome that came into this country under that immigration policy, was clearly radicalized, intentionally killed 2 National Guard members. It was not exactly like a, accidental shooting. He hit them with their car or something. Goes on to refer to it as a quote-unquote unfortunate accident. That is right. So when a right-winger does something, when right-wingers riot for like once in their history, that's an insurrection. A white person commits any crime, it's a hate crime. But of course, when an Afghan refugee intentionally goes and kills members of our military, unfortunate accident is the phraseology. Take a listen to what happens next.
NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with National Guardsmen being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
it was a terrorist attack.
Wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question? It was an unfortunate situation, but you blamed it solely on Joe Biden.
Well, in fairness, sir, we don't necessarily just have to blame it on Joe Biden. We could also blame it on you and your Democrat Party, who have needlessly demonized and slandered the National Guard in D.C., while simultaneously saying there was no need for them. The place is perfectly safe, as we have. By the way, it's not even the first instance of an Afghan migrant from Operation Allies Welcome in the D.C. area to commit an attack against some type of law enforcement or military entity. Okay, there was a shooting just 2 years ago against police officers by one of those same individuals. But of course, it's sure, we don't just have to blame Biden for bringing them in. We could blame your political party for bringing them in and then constantly making excuses. And even now, refusing to refer to it as a terrorist attack. It was an unfortunate accident. I guess this Afghan migrant just accidentally went up to 2 National Guards members and the gun accidentally shot them in the head twice, Who hasn't been in that situation in their lives? Give me a freaking break. But of course, again, this is what we say, okay? So this is how ridiculous the Democrat Party is. I mean, what have we been trying to tell you? They represent who? Like, who's their constituency? Violent communist assassins, the drug cartels, illegal aliens, criminals, fraudsters. Like this is the only people that the Democrat Party ever advocate for when you break down, every political issue they choose to make a big deal out of is this. And yet in a Democrat system, somehow they win elections, Of course, we could speculate about our reasons for that. But still, okay, I bring that up again to say, number one, yes, they are beatable. Yes, we're totally capable of doing that. But secondly, of course, right? These are the people you want to have power who clearly they have a team. It's not your team. And, okay, yeah, let's have a Democrat Congress. Let's have a Democrat president who refers to terrorist attacks against American soldiers as unfortunate accidents. Yeah. That's what everyone wants, right? Please take the midterms seriously next year, guys. That's all I have to say. And that's really the thought exercise behind this whole video is look at the Democrats. Haha, so funny. Oh, wait, but they're beating us in the polls and the betting odds. How could that be the case? Well, I'm going to bring it up again, okay? If you needed a reason to care about next year, this is your reason. That's all I'm going to say. All right, that said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.